This is Mark Layton from the Oregon Files podcast with information on today's interview. Today, we're interviewing the founders of Source One Serenity. It's their mission to empower veterans to reclaim their sense of purpose through outdoor activities and land stewardship. They believe nature is our partner to heal, to bond, and to thrive. They offer outdoor activities such as walking, hiking, and fly fishing, mostly in the Umpqua National Forest. You can sign up for their newsletter and contact them through their website, sourceoneserenity.org. The owner and founders are Dusty and Elena Lininger. The nonprofit was started in 2016 in Roseburg, and they recently won an award from the Oregon Recycler Sustainable 2022 conference for their side project, Heal Terra, which is a grassroots effort in rural Oregon that targets food waste, where they developed a plan to make warm castings through a social enterprise called Heal Terra. Thank you and enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Oregon Files podcast. First, our disclaimer. We're amateur podcasters simply for entertainment and information. If we misquote or offend, it was not on purpose to do so. Today, we're recording from the Roseburg Public Library. Yay! Shout out Roseburg Public Library. And we have some very special guests with us today. But first, my co-host, Elliot Bowman.
Thank you, Mark. Another fantastic intro, sir. So when Mark and I started out with the idea of doing this podcast, we really wanted to find different stories, ways to kind of connect in this community, maybe that people haven't heard about. So we started off doing a couple different stories about murder mystery. But as we kind of are growing this podcast and as we're diving into this community more, we're really finding a lot wonderful people and wonderful organizations. And today we have, I don't even know how I stumbled across or how I found these folks, but we're super excited to talk to them. They're from Source One Serenity and Heal Terra. Did I say that right?
Got it.
Heal Terra. All right.
It's a DBA only for our separate line of business, which is a recycling and composting facility.
Okay. I love it. So with that said, would you mind, telling us a little about yourselves and introduce y'all?
My family is from Douglas County, originally late 1830s, early 1840s.
Oh, wow. There we go. That's a good
Hudson
start.
Bay Company.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then 1890, one of them married the Rice family and then moved to Bandon, Oregon. I joined the rest of the family out there. And so I grew up in Myrtle Point, Oregon, Coos County, and graduated Myrtle Point High School in 95. And then however many years later, in 2016, I moved back. I've always loved Douglas County. My great aunt had Perry and Jesse Wright's ranch up on Illahee.
Okay.
And ran cattle all the way over there. Yes, my blood is all over this place.
Awesome.
Amazing.
When we came back in 2016, it was just coming back home.
Yeah.
I've arrived, finally.
Yeah.
Life has come full circle, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
But you haven't been here for 20 years, yeah? And
Yes. Yeah.
you kind of also felt as a foreigner here, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, it was a culture shock. Being gone for 20 years, coming back, it was a culture shock. It really was. I was used to being the foreigner everywhere else I went, and then coming back here, it's like, oh, I don't have to translate other languages in my head anymore, and everybody kind of thinks somewhat similar thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a culture shock.
So what did you do in those 20 years?
Growing up in Coos County, I grew up in the back pocket of my grandfather, who is a logging and ranching tycoon in Coos County. I thought I was going to inherit that and carry that family tradition. My family was like, no, you're leaving and you're not coming back for a long time. I was like, and I'm very grateful of that. Otherwise, logging would have owned me, ranching would have owned me. I would not have experienced the world. I wouldn't have met Elena. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So very grateful, but my family sent me away. And then I went to Phoenix, Arizona for 2.5 years. I studied refrigeration, started doing it professionally. And then I just kind of followed the childhood dream after a while of joining the military in 98. I walked into the recruiter and said, I want infantry. And the Marine recruiter said, I'm sorry, I can't guarantee that. So I said, well, thank you, sir. And walked out the door, went in next to the Army recruiter. And he was like, I get you what you want. Buddy.
Really? Was it really a childhood dream? Was that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes,
It's
it
something
was.
you always
I
want.
wanted to out of the high school, but my plan was to get an education before I joined the Army so that I had something to fall back on. So that way I can play G.I. Joe while I was in the Army. And that was it. That was my childhood hero, Jeremiah Johnson and G.I. Joe. Those were my heroes growing up.
Very cool.
The fictitious ones anyways.
Sure.
I had
who
real
didn't love
ones,
G.I.
but-
Joe? Yeah.
But I wanted to join
Snake
the
eyes.
Army to play Army. I didn't want to go turn wrenches or, all that other stuff. No, I wanted to, be a soldier, play bang bang and crawl underneath concertina wire and stuff like that. So that's what I got to do. And then in 2007, I got out. Well, I was stationed in Germany, and I continued working there for outdoor recreation, where you do like outdoor guided trips and stuff for service members stationed overseas. And I did that until 2016, and that's when we decided to go wheels up and move back to Oregon.
How did you guys meet?
Yeah, it was...
So maybe I can tell you a little bit more about myself, and it will probably make sense. Yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
So in any case, I come from Europe. So I grew up in Europe. But I actually lived in 3 countries there. In my adulthood, I lived in Germany. And what is interesting, in Germany, actually when I met Rusty, I was studying at environmental campus of the university in Trier. And I was studying in a building which was a former American hospital.
Oh, wow.
It is really, really interesting. So building, of course, like when the Americans, didn't need this building or that location and that property. So like Germans were thinking, what shall we do right now? Environmental issues, it was a really big thing. So at that time. So this is when they actually have started like a new university or just an arm of another university based around environment. It is really interesting. And Rusty lived exactly across that campus. And that was just a very small American housing area at that time. So by the way, I think maybe, we met in 2004 and it
was off-post housing in this old previous Army base. It was pretty easy for a single NCO. You just walk down the hill to an international cuisine of women. And
International
they had a nice pub down there. So a bunch of single
That's amazing.
knuckle draggers would go down and ruin this place.
so I actually wanted to speak English with a Native American. That was my interest.
Hi, my name's Rusty. That was about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys met, fell in love, come to the States, and then you decide to start an organization, or what
We had a baby in between.
There
that
you
time.
go.
We got
Okay.
married, had a baby.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
important. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I got disenchanted with working for the federal government.
Uh-huh.
It was like just living as a means to an end kind of thing. And so it was it 2012 when I tried to check out?
Yes.
Yeah. 2012, I tried to commit suicide. Just a lot of PTSD, addiction, you name it, just everything compiling. I tried to check out. Fortunately, I didn't. Unsuccessful. So then after that, I started getting my shit together upstairs. Basically sobered up. Got help, figured out what am I going to do with my life now. And I realized working for the federal government was not, it's not designed around creativity, initiative, especially if you're a little self-sufficient kind of. They just don't promote that. It's not designed like that.
Right.
Any part of the agency. But after I started getting things together, I was invited down to Luxembourg. I'd gotten into fly fishing. the one activity that really saved my ass, kind of got me out of here and in the moment, really. So I was invited to Luxembourg to meet a American World War II veteran that was coming to Europe to fly fish waters he had seen while he was there in the 40s. I guess well known. And they were doing a documentary. The movie's called Mending the Line.
Yes.
Frank Moore.
Yeah, Frank Moore.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, sometimes, sometimes you get a sign and you just can't deny it. And went down to meet this old man and his wife, and he gave me a hell of a handshake, and I introduced myself, and we started talking. He was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oregon." He repeated again, "Where are you from?" I said, "Myrtle Point." As we were talking, and they were talking about where they're at, and I mentioned my great aunt, Nova Bates, who had the ranch up on Illahee, which is just not far past Steamboat and where they live. And then Frank's wife, Jeannie, goes, "Oh, Nova Bates?" I was like, "Yeah, that's my great aunt." She's like, "Oh, we love Nova Bates," and this and that. So then it's like worlds collided.
What a
I was
small
like,
world.
people I knew halfway around the world, 70 years later, after Second World War, he's back, and it all just, the word coincidence means coincide. It has a very deep meaning to it. It wasn't just a coincidence, but coincidence in the true sense of the word. And it was like right then and there, I was like, kind of knew where I was going to go and what I was going to do. I just had to make sure she was on board with it. Because we'd already talked about moving back to the States. Yeah. I was ready for a change. I knew, working government overseas just wasn't going to go anywhere. I was like, I was ready for something new, a new adventure. So we were constantly in contact with Frank and Jeannie afterwards, and Frank just kept saying, "Just put your ass on a plane, Rusty, and get everybody over here." I'm like, "Frank, I don't have a place to stay. I don't know where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do." It's like entering a foreign country. Right. So kind of following my ancestors' footsteps that came over the Cascades on wagon trains and horseback, we packed everything up in little boxes and mailed it to some family, and we jumped on a plane, and the three of us ended up here. We had no place to go until I called Frank and Jeannie, and Frank says, "Well, let me look at my calendar." And it's like, "Oh, we just had the apartment open up." So I was like, "Okay, all right." So my sister drove us all the way up there, and she grew up in Western Europe. There's nothing like the Umpqua National Forest in existence in Europe at all.
Really?
No, it's so populated. I mean, Germany is.
I thought Germany had the wasn't the Black Forest?
But yeah, that's a monoculture tree farm that's just been there a long time. Yeah. There's nothing wild about it.
Okay.
I mean, Germany is the same size of Oregon with over 90 million people in it.
Holy moly!
Wow.
Yeah. Wild places do not exist in Western Europe. No more. Those are gone hundreds of years ago.
Right.
So for somebody from Western Europe coming, it's like,
holy.
In Germany, it's like you get out in the quote unquote backcountry and you think you're alone, and then here comes grandma with her walker on her Sunday stroll. And like, so she comes out here, and it's like there's things in the woods that eat you. Right. So the drive up to Frank and Jeannie's place was, and I'm looking, I see the North Umpqua. I'm like, yes, I'm home finally. Right. And she's like, "My God, where are we going? Siberia?" Where are we going? Yeah, we lived with them for 3 weeks. Let us use their car, and I just chopped a lot of wood and chased the osprey out of Frank's pond and everything. And yeah, until we got our feet landed here, basically.
Yeah, but actually we started a nonprofit. So this nonprofit Source One Serenity several months before we moved.
Okay.
So in any case, with this idea, we came up probably a year before we moved. I worked for a big corporation, so I had a really great job, great colleagues, and so on. But I just was aware of that it doesn't align with my personal values. such as compassion or helping people. And that's why I was actually myself looking for something meaningful and purposeful. It was once I saw Rusty's magazine, Trout Unlimited. It was open, so on the table. So I looked up, what it was about, and it was actually one article about a nonprofit for women with breast cancer, and it was called, I think, Casting for Recovery. In any case, and that was actually, exactly about a nonprofit to help women who are going through this illness or who have recovered and so on. And, so as a military spouse, I also have seen how a soldier, so can go really down mentally, and how he, for example, how he actually can go up, concerning he got motivated, only because of fly fishing. This is what I knew. And I said, okay, so there is an organization helping other patients, so it could be something like fly fishing for veterans with PTSD or something like that. So this is how we started actually doing research, and we got our business mentor. This is how we founded Source One Serenity in April 2016, and then moved here.
Wow. She made an offer.
Wow.
She forgot about the offer.
Okay.
She read this article and she was like, hey, what if we did a nonprofit and you could teach people to fly fish and take them out fishing, and then I would do all the administrative work. And who in their right mind would say no to an offer like that? I get to go play in the woods and you deal with all the other stuff?
Right.
It was like, that's a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Jackpot.
Yeah. It's like, I get to go be a kid all day.
Right.
And, okay, it's not that easy, but in realistic, that's like my military career. It's like, I kick in doors and, pull triggers, and then other people take care of all the other nonsense so I can focus on operation. That's, to me, that's like a dream come true. It was like, okay, so I get to just implement, and then she can help facilitate. And it's kind of the same way we're working now. So, yeah.
So when it first started off, how did it kind of take off from the idea to where it is now?
I've been asked that question many times, and the only thing I can think of what it felt like is you watched like the Indiana Jones films?
Sure.
Okay, there was a part where he was underground, and his dad kept telling him in the past, you have to remember this, you have to remember that. So he's trying to remember all this stuff. And it was, I forgot what it was, but it was a Hebrew text. And he comes at the end of this tunnel, and it's this huge cavern. It was basically kind of like, have faith.
All right.
And he's like, I don't know what to do. So then he just closes his eyes and takes a step into this abyss. And it was a camouflaged bridge that you couldn't see from where you're standing, but it was there. He just had to have faith. So it was like stepping off that cliff into the unknown. It was. It's still very much that way nowadays.
True.
That's
true.
amazing.
Yeah. And of course, so like if I look at like some business perspective, so how we started really on a very low budget, and only with the support of our friends, because they were supporting our ideas, our mission that we created. And so the first like retreat we had already in 2016, just camping, just like with a couple of fishing rods, just with a few people, with a few veterans.
Weather was
and that
horrible.
was it. Yeah. But you know what? So there is an amazing quote on our website. One of the veterans who was there. So this is what he said. It was raining. It was miserable, but I am here under these big trees and feel that I have created a family. Yeah.
Those
In
same
any case-
veterans are still with us today,
Wow.
several years later, and we've just kind of grown that culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the programs?
We started with this only fly fishing, and then it went into hiking as well. And also because the guys were using the trails, they could also see that some trails were not maintained or needed help, like including to cut trees and so on. So this is when we started already doing research, or actually started working with BLM and Forest Service on reopening some trails.
We just started doing it. That was all. We just did it. It was right at the beginning of the COVID lockdown. And then, of course, the federal government is like,
We're not going out.
nobody answering the phone,
Right.
nobody answering emails. I mean, we're going nuts. And one of our vets works for the federal government. He's like, Rusty, I'm going to go crazy. I was like, we're in lockdown. He's like, we've got this beautiful outdoors here. He's like, let's go out and do something productive. And then we just went out and we got like little hand saws and stuff and started clearing limbs out and everything. And then pretty soon we got a 5-foot crosscut saw. And then pretty soon people are like sending us like little hints. Hey, these waterfalls haven't been logged out in 3 years. And the word started getting out. And we were just looking for something to do. Yeah. We couldn't partake in the insanity of town and all that fear and everything else that was going on. Let's go do something healthy. And then word gets out. It's like, oh, who was this ghost crew that's out clearing these trails that have been left defunct for years? And even within agencies, they're kind of like, well, we can't really support it, but good job. They tell us under the table, good job, because they couldn't go out and do it. So they're glad to see somebody doing it. But they would never admit to that.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but we actually have already established connections and collaboration with them.
Eventually,
We
it got...
Yes.
We realized we were onto something really cool and real purpose-driven and rewarding, and the community loved it. And it was like, okay, we have to do this legitimate now. I mean, we can't just go out doing black ops, clearing trails. It's like, if we really want to make a positive impact, we need to start working at a community level, working with different agencies. I mean, do it the right way. So it was a learning curve.
Right. So for you and the other veterans or whoever comes out and does the activities with you, have you noticed personal a positive impact on you and the other people that have...
When you get a group of people on a focused mission to better the community, that's where we thrive.
Yeah.
That's where we thrive. We're used to the sacrifice. Yeah. And the more challenging it is, the more appealing it is for some of us. Let us pack 60, 70 pounds on our backs with hand tools and go into the backcountry, 7-8 miles for a week. Yeah. And grueling work. You're in a remote location. You have no communication whatsoever except for a dispatch off a repeater twice a day, and that's you couldn't ask for a better situation for good therapy. All the other nonsense. If you ask me, my personal opinion, this world we create is very fake. It's not a real world. You go out there into the wilderness, it's the real world. There's nothing. If it wants your cookies, it's going to take it. That's it. Yeah. If it's intimidating, don't leave the parking lot. Yeah. Stay on the marked trail.
Right.
Stay in your RV. Keep your cozy town, this and that. But because out there, nobody is coming. That's it. Nobody's coming. You have to be absolutely cognitive of your surroundings. You have to work together as a team. And if you want to come out successful, you have to do that. You have to. All the other BS in society and drama and, gaslighting and whatever we're subjected to, it doesn't exist out there. It's gone. It doesn't matter. That's what happens. Because that is the real world. And that is, and then when you leave, you get to see, it's like, wow, man, you just cut this new tread and these massive logs, you're logged out, and now you have a restored path through an area that had been defunct for decades, you know. And then when you're hiking out, then you start getting back into society, and people's phones start making noises. Then you can hear traffic, and then
I just want to read a quote. It's actually a testimonial from one of our participants. So he's post 9/11 veteran. So this is what he said. He has actually disclosed to the public this year, and it's actually really pretty emotional. Raising my son and being a part of this project, which is Boulder Creek Trail Project, are the only two things that have kept me from taking my life over the past 1.5 years.
Jeez. Wow.
Important. It's important.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So in any case, it saves lives,
Right.
and also saves lives in a different way as well. For example, like 2 hikers were in the Boulder Creek wilderness, and they were kind of lost, or so there was a search and rescue mission actually.
Right.
So I think it was in June or August. It was Oregon State Police was using pack horses to get them down, and it was only thanks to the cleared trail.
Yeah, you can actually get horses in.
How'd that make you guys feel?
Because I volunteer with search and rescue also, and one of our ground teams had gotten to them. These people, they went in on the trail we cleared, and of course a lot of these trails are still on maps that you can't visibly see them.
Right.
Okay.
That's, that's one reason why we're out there clearing these trails, is because Forest Service doesn't have the manpower nor the funding to get out and clear the trails they have on their maps. And people get lost, and some people don't come back. These 2 people were almost part of that number, and they had tried to follow another trail that was no longer existent. They had gotten themselves physically in a place where they were not going to get out. Dehydrated, injury, and they could no longer move. We could not get air assets, I think, for 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So the state police got the horses in there, and ground team got it down to the horses, and the horses packed them out. So it was a win.
That's
It was a
amazing.
win. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. There's still a few other people out there that are, maybe we'll find something of them eventually.
Yeah.
But Boulder Creek Wilderness has claimed some souls over the years, as any rough country like that will.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. Like I said, if it wants your cookies, it'll take them.
All right. Well, it kind of leads me into my next question. For folks that do go out into the country and hiking, or if they go out fly fishing or whatever, just general tip.
Never go alone.
Makes sense.
And I'll be quite straightforward. I used to do solo a lot. I don't anymore. That's it. I just don't. I always tell somebody where you're going, and be prepared for staying the night. Always. When I go up there, she has my contingency plan.
That's cool.
She knows where I'm going. I let multiple people know. And I've been on the receiving end of search and rescue missions before myself, so which is quite funny.
I'll be darned. Okay.
I'm one of the ground guides, and here they come.
Yeah.
It's because no matter how prepared you are, expect the unexpected.
All right.
Because I used to guide professionally for a few seasons, and it was all backcountry guiding, and I'd run across people all the time. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have I backcountry this, and then you get them out there. It's like, dude, you should not leave the parking lot. Just go back to town. Go back to town. So it's humbling, and you just got to be humble enough to know your limits. So.
All right.
But also be prepared about gear, right? Like shoes, like hiking boots or something like that. What do you think? Isn't that also really important? Because we do these hiking trips for veterans, and we had actually some veterans who are older, and some of them they just wear
sneakers,
or something like that. We hike, let's say Watson waterfall, or something like that. It's actually still rough. It's a very well maintained trail. Nonetheless, it's really rough. So you need to have really good shoes. I mean, and this is what we mean. Like, so be prepared. You need to be really thoughtful of what exactly you're wearing. So like including like mosquitoes. Like it's an issue in some month. Just be prepared. Do research.
Some common sense things, right?
Yes.
That maybe people forget about.
And you know what? We all make mistakes.
Sure.
I've made some pretty serious mistakes. Some of them she won't ever know.
That's good.
It's like, oh, all right, okay. Practice what you preach kind of thing.
Right.
And out there, it's rough country. It really is. It's rough and brushy country. And you get 50 feet off the trail, nobody's going to find you. I mean, nobody's going to find. We had a search mission up around Sawtooth. It was a few years ago, and the guy had gone up to check out. He mental issues, this and that, and we were all over that mountain. We had aircraft, dogs, horses, ground crews, everything. Full-on search for about 2 weeks. Didn't find him. Some hunters found him a year later.
Oh, wow.
And he was down in a ravine not far from where part of the ground team I was on, we had walked through that area. That just goes to show. The brush here, this ain't Montana or Colorado.
Right.
This is 50 feet off the trail, you disappear forever.
Crazy.
So, we got to keep that in mind also. And I always, in my bag here, spot locator beacon, those things save lives.
Oh, wow.
And they're not expensive. We pay more in health insurance than it costs to have one of those spot locator beacons. So
What do they do?
you can anywhere as long as you get satellite service. A lot of people get this, they get this idea they can go out there and rely on their cell phones for maps and contacting people. This is so rough out here and so remote. You don't get enough cell service out here. I probably have the worst out of everybody. I think if I leave Roseburg, I'm out of cell service, which is kind of good for me. But, Spot Locator sets up with satellites. So, and when you go into register, you register into contacts, various people. Like, say, you would pick your, some friends that know the area and family members. So when you get into trouble, you can choose. Some of them you can send text messages now, which is pretty cool. Mine is pretty simple. But if you get into trouble, you flip that thing open and press the SOS button, and it automatically goes from satellites to 911, which Sheriff's Department here will pick it up. And the last Boulder Creek SAR mission we had, they had used a spot locator beacon. If they did not have that, we'd still be out there looking for them.
Wow.
So those things save lives.
That sounds like number one tip to me.
Yeah. I definitely say don't go alone. Take a spot locator beacon, and then of course all the other common sense kind of stuff.
Right.
But
and water, maybe hydration. It's so important.
Right. Yeah, we talked about the story about the guy that got lost a year or so ago. I think he was at Twin Lakes.
Yeah, Burley. Harry Burley.
Yeah. But
I had to armchair that mission, which really ticked me off because I couldn't respond to it. But I was armchair quarterbacking that one.
He made it out and had to
Found
drink
him
his
where
own
I
urine.
thought they'd find him, though.
I'll be darned.
I was like, go down, get downhill, send teams downhill. I tried to get a team together when I was available. I couldn't find anybody else to go with me, but they got somebody down there and they found him.
Yeah. I'm glad they did. Talk about a little connection here doing that story. And then,
but he went by himself.
Yeah. There was a lot of, we thought he was just going to go fishing, and it's pretty crazy.
And Twin Lakes area, that's...
I love that area.
That's like that's... If you want to get a good introduction into the backcountry kind of atmosphere, that's like the perfect place.
It's super
for
pretty up there, too.
It's beautiful.
Man.
We've done quite a bit of work up there, our organization,
right?
doing trail stewardship and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, what a land steward is, or trail stewardship, and what that all entails.
I actually want to say that one of our core values is take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And there is actually even a movement, if not we, then who?
Yeah.
It's actually about taking ownership, but also taking responsibility. So this is actually land stewardship. Why to wait for somebody else to do that? We need to find ways to implement it and just like take responsibility. And also, I would say it's also something about being grateful for what we have.
Yeah.
So let's say here, like being grateful for the Anqua National Forest, for these wilderness areas or backcountry or trails or waterfalls. Yeah, just being grateful for that. But that means that we need to take care of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Love it. It's part of our community.
Mm-hmm.
Those mountains are our community. You know, without nature and our environment, we do not exist. That's it. We don't take care of what we have as far as our environment. We're done. You know, that's what makes Oregon. And that's why I love it so much, is I can go up there and I can hike these trails and get into this backcountry, and it's my church.
Right.
And if we don't take ownership of it, then who is?
Right.
What can we complain about if we're not contributing to a solution?
Right, yeah. And just like complain about the government or something like that.
Yeah.
What if we find ways to work together? And this is what we are doing.
Yeah.
Right. So is that where kind of the mindful walking came into, after clearing once you get the trails cleared and you take a group up? And
The mindful walk thing kind of came from something I did at a campground in Germany. It was a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he said, if you walk, walk. Don't think, don't talk, which is the essence of mindfulness.
Right.
Actually, walk. I mean, it annoys me to no return when I see people out there walking and they're still attached to their phones or their tablets or whatever. It's like,
talking.
It's like you're not here. You're not here. You're
present.
in that little square 2x3 box that's still attached to whatever fake world back. You're not here.
Right.
And that's what mindfulness is observing your surroundings without judgment. It was something I did, and it was really cool because I didn't allow any talking on this short walk. And then we thought, wow, let's actually it was her idea to implement the same thing with some of our walks out here. And you see a lot more that way.
And we actually had facilitators for both mindful walks. So this year, the first one was facilitated by our board member. So he served together with Rusty, but he's studying now for his doctorate in clinical psychology in Salem for George Fox University. So he has facilitated that. And so we did it at the Wolf Creek Campground, exactly in spring. And it was just so amazing. So when we were on a trail, you are just absorbed by the beauty of wildflowers, and this is how it is much easier to be mindful when you are exposed to something different, and so to the nature. And then we closed our outdoor recreational program this year with this mindful walk behind the Eastwood Elementary School on Nature Trail. So we had Susan, who actually she worked as a counselor for active duty members and veterans her whole life, and she's just amazing. So she also has facilitated it. So like mindful walk, it is just think more about how we feel about it, so what we see, and that's it. So it's actually pretty easy.
Right. I saw a video over the summer. It was actually a Buddhist monk who was talking about mindful walking. And he talked about, when you go for a walk, feel the ground underneath your feet.
Yeah.
And I try to think about all the time, because I'm one of those who are guilty of looking at my phones when I go for a walk, because we work from home, so I walk my dog like 3 times a day. So I'm always trying to remind myself, put the phone away and take in the Cascadian Mountains and just take in your surroundings and be present. So it's really something I have to remind myself all the time, like, just be in the moment, be present. So
there have been so many studies done on how nature or green spaces affect our health, and it is really evidence-based. So it is really proven that it, for example, reduces anxiety, or it helps those who have depression or something like that. Just being in the green spaces, and there is this term forest bathing, and it's actually so popular in Japan. So there is a term, I think German, something Shinrin Yoko or something like that, so which is really great. And by the way, so there are more and more practitioners are prescribing green spaces or being outdoors. We're aware of that, how we are disconnected from nature.
Very true.
Favorite adventures you guys have gone on? It doesn't have to be with your organization, favorite places you guys like to go hike or fishing.
It's always an adventure.
It's always an adventure.
That's a good answer. Yeah. What's your future plans for an organization? What's upcoming stuff?
Expansion for one, getting more veterans and more people in the community involved with taking ownership of our public spaces in our community. We have our worm farm, which is the recycling. That is growing. Like to employ more veterans doing that.
Cool.
And then also eventually have our own facility somewhere out in the mountains somewhere where people can come out and hitch up a horse and, go bug out for a few days or watch birds or what have you, learn a trade. You name it. That's eventually.
That's what I would like to do. Bird watching.
Yeah.
But something, let's say, for this coming year, I'm actually looking at strengthening some collaborations, partnerships, like including Phoenix Charter School, which is actually about working with youth. And we are also looking at some other potential collaborations with youth, because I just love it. So when I started talking to veterans, actually some of them, they brought it up themselves. Modern youth needs mentorship and also needs to learn some skills which are kind of like become forgotten, like including how to start a campfire, for example, or some actually techniques even in building and construct. I mean, like those I'm talking about, or I'm thinking about forest shelters or something. Like these people, like veterans, or our participants, they were telling me about it, and I could see that there was even more passion, there was even more purpose, So this is how I love seeing how we evolve, like starting from something small, just fly fishing, and then going like evolving, and so to bring even more purpose, more impact in the community can benefit from it.
All right.
I think that's amazing. I think especially with you're right, with today's youth, they need that mentorship.
Yes.
They need that.
We got to start taking care of our own.
Yes.
That's it.
That's true.
An organization, corporate, community, government, you name it. That's what we got to start. I mean, we got to start by cleaning up our own yard.
It's so true.
Ryan Finley. I don't know if you guys knew Ryan Finley. We interviewed Ryan over the summer.
I don't know him.
Yeah.
The tracker guy.
Yeah.
He had that same kind of message too.
He's one of our cherished pipe hitters here in Roseburg. He's out doing it.
Yes.
Not just talking.
Yes.
Right. He had that same kind of message.
The proverbial bobblehead.
Right.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Right.
No, he's actually out there. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's the ownership.
Yeah.
Yes.
People take ownership, and that's what gets results. Yeah.
Right.
And it just takes one person.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ryan Finley. He's out there. He's got tired of seeing what he was seeing and started taking action himself.
Yes.
Getting his kids and family involved. And then, now he's got a whole battalion working with him, basically. It's awesome. Yeah, that's what we need.
So if folks want to get involved or contact your guys' organization, what's kind of like the best way to reach out to you guys?
Smoke signal.
I'm not sure if that works.
I love that Elena is the realist here, and she's just ready to talk business.
She's
and
the
then
adult.
and then Rusty's like, no, we're just gonna joke around.
So, to go to our website,
Yeah.
sourceoneserenity.org, and contact information is on the website.
Awesome.
So phone number and email address, and of course, like Instagram. So like messages on Instagram or Facebook. Sure,
Awesome.
that works as well.
Awesome. Well, we can't leave here today without asking you, but you guys won a recent award, right?
Yes.
Through the Association of Oregon Recyclers.
Oh, yeah.
Rusty looks confused, but Elena knows what I'm talking about.
Paper, buddy.
There we go.
Right. Yeah. Yes, we have attended the recycling conference this year. So it was in October in Bend, and our was allocated for this award. So we were, of course,
Cool.
attending all the other workshops and speakers, and of course, like this hour for these awards as well. And then we saw our point of contact was DEQ, Oregon Department of Environmental Quality. So who came to the microphone and she started talking about this new, like about these mental health and veterans and food waste collection. I thought, wow, that sounds so similar what we are doing. And then she has announced Source One Serenity.
So you guys had no idea?
No.
What?
No.
I was actually outside playing with our son because they had this like fake fireplace out there. I'm like, ooh, fire. What?
Or smoke
And
signals.
Elena's in there
Yeah.
with all the people in the big room and the screens and stuff like that. And Kathy was trying to talk me into going. I'm like, no. I'm just like, no.
Not my thing. Yeah.
It's too stuffy in there.
Right.
I give her some excuse. I was waiting for a phone call or something like that. But I'm outside and I hear it and I was like, veterans, land stewardship. And I'm like, oh, okay. I got my attention and I looked in the door and up in the screen and yeah, she's talking about us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
it was really cool.
Yeah, it was just so humbling. I had tears. It's also being in a room with I think 200 or 300 people. And so the point of award was not just recognizing our efforts or impact in our community, but it is also about showcasing what a grassroots organization can do. So to show, so it can be done in other communities.
Right.
That was the point.
Rural
It can be done
especially.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's key for us because there's a lot of other organizations out there, but they're focused around resources, people, metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
There isn't very many organizations starting in rural Oregon or rural America, period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we've shown, hey, grassroots, rural area, we can do it here also. We can come up with some solutions here.
Yeah, and Kathy actually, she has seen how we started this worm farm composting facility. So we started it really also from zero, from scratch. And she, for example, this year, so she came to see our worm farm, which is at the Glide transfer site. She was just amazed, and she wanted to invite even their composting guru as well, who works at for DEQ. This can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and so for me, it is also something special because coming from Germany, which is kind of considered to be a leader in recycling, and then being here in Douglas County, where almost everything has been suspended. I mean, concerning recycling efforts has been suspended in 2018. That was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is also about taking ownership. Yeah. So shall we wait till somebody else is doing it? And by the way, so we were the first one who have applied for the composting permit here in Douglas County.
That's amazing.
That is awesome.
So cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are pretty freaking awesome.
You're genuine. You're genuine people. Yeah, that's
Thank you.
it's really cool.
I mean,
Try to
really,
be-
you guys are damn incredible.
Yeah,
Gotta
absolutely
take a step
incredible,
off
man.
that cliff.
Absolutely.
it's true. It's
It's scary,
Yeah.
but it's invigorating.
Well,
You might fall on your face.
all right. We'll wrap this up with our two questions that we ask everyone: your favorite sandwich and favorite movie.
I don't have a favorite sandwich.
All right.
Not really a sandwich kind of guy.
Favorite thing to put on bread. Toast.
Yeah.
Man, stumped you.
Yeah.
How about part two? Favorite movie.
Seabiscuit.
There you go. Okay.
So for me, a favorite sandwich, so I think sandwiches, isn't that something more American thing or something?
I love you called it out.
In any case, then my favorite sandwich
Yeah.
is toasted bread with sourdough bread.
I love sourdough.
With homemade jam.
Oh my gosh.
So favorite movie, Avatar.
Oh, well, second one's coming out soon. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm out of
I'm a little
way of
speechless,
things
yeah.
to say. I'm just
No,
so
thank
happy
you
that
so much for your time.
that you guys agreed to do this. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So
You look nothing like how I imagine you guys.
Good.
I think that's a good thing,
That's
Mark.
a good thing. I'll go with that.
Yes, it is. It is.
That's a good thing.
I have a good imagination.
No, but thank you so much. For everyone that's listening, if you want to get a hold of the show, it's just OregonFilesPodcast@yahoo.com. If you want to listen to, this episode and all the previous episodes, we have a link on our Instagram. It takes you all to like the directories where you can download and listen to the podcast. And final words of wisdom, final advice for the life goers out there. Send your smoke signals and they'll find you.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to step off that cliff.
That's
I
so
love
good.
it.
Have faith.
Proverbially. Whatever that word is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do it legitimately, but just proverbial cliff, just step off. Go
All
with it.
right. Elena, words of wisdom?
I think I would go back to this conversation around mindfulness. Yeah, just staying mindful and not taking on too much in our head.
Yeah. Awesome.
Phenomenal. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
There you go.